Well, it is. I've been so busy since I got in this morning that you caught me out a little bit. I wasn't quite ready to come on, but come on, I have, and we're going to do the whole thing. Yeah, I said I'm going to do the whole thing. From Lewis in the Black Horse Pub. Well, good morning. As you can see, this is Mirador Television. I'm Keith Hayes. And somebody who watches us regularly said, why do you play that identification? Well, the reason being is that a lot of people come across us and don't know who the hell we are. And so it's a good idea to identify us at the beginning of the show, at least, so that those people who do accidentally come across us, and there are an increasing number of you, which is absolutely marvelous, know that this is Mirador Television. And Mirador Television is an important part of our community and beyond. We go out all over the place. Absolutely incredible where we reach. So that's why. And the other reason is our host, if you like, is the Black Horse Pub. And nobody could look after us better than Declan, the host here. He's not in today, because I normally call him and say, Declan, look over my shoulder and let people see you and say hello to you. In fact, it's Ada who's looking after me this morning and looking after I need too. Oh, dear. Computers. Blah. It's time that we actually started to look at computers in context. Of course they're important to us. Of course they're important to our way of life, but not totally. I have not been able to see a bloody doctor for a month. I'm trying. And even then, it's charming though they are, a secretary, a receptionist who makes up their mind as to whether I shall see one or not. So this morning, I couldn't even get my socks on. It took me an hour to get dressed. Why? Because I've been denied access to my doctor by computers. And on Saturday morning, I thought I'd got a jab. I thought I was going to be stuck with a needle to fight off COVID. And I turned up, nobody there. Because I find it difficult to handle these automatic appointment things. Oh, the doctors and the administrative staff of the local surgery love them. But I find them difficult. So I was at the wrong place at the wrong time for the wrong reason. Well, it's time that you started to look, instead of bowing down to 15-year-olds, it's time you started to realize that you've got some people over 50 on your patient list. And over 50s did not grow up with computers. And so all these improvements, which the kids love, and God bless them, eventually In about 15 years' time, everybody will be used to them. But not now. Not now. You're racing ahead of yourselves, and what you're doing is you're slowly killing people. That's what you're doing. You're killing people. You're bloody well killing me, I'll tell you. I'm lucky to be here. Now, I am on record as saying that I laugh and yell and scream about Parkinson's. And I do. But you can only laugh and scream for so long when you find that the authorities are relishing using them against you. And that's what they're doing. They're using them against older people. Jason, get your bloody team together and start to discuss this. Stop sticking your head in the sand. You're a decent man. You're a good doctor. And you've got good doctors around you. But the system is broken before it even got started. Take a look at it. Show your common sense. I've got odd socks on this morning. Mind you, I normally got odd socks on.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you. I got the nod of approval from a member of the staff. Ada says, well said.
I'm not your age, Keith, but I can't even do all this computer rubbish.
Well, there we go. You go.
And everything, doctors, hospital appointments, everything's done online now.
I know.
I have to get my son to do it for me.
Exactly. I don't have any children here. Mm-hmm. Mine are in Belfast. I have to phone Belfast and say, darling, will you please look at the computer and will you please make an appointment for me? How ludicrous can you get?
And some people our age don't want to do the computers. My friend refuses to have a mobile phone, refuses to have a computer in her house. She's just got a landline.
Yes, and it is a perfectly valid attitude.
Uh-huh.
Wait for another 10 years, and then everybody will. They won't remember when we didn't have computers.
I was telling my grandson the other day because he was doing some homework. He was using his phone calculator. And I said to him, one of the days that you have to use your fingers and pencil and a rubber, now everything's just done on the computer.
Yes. Actually, our correspondent, a good man, Dr. Mark Maybe, has kept all his mother's old artifacts and showed a fountain pen the other day. Mm-hmm. And he said he can show a fountain pen to youngsters and they haven't a clue what it is.
Well, I showed you met Cody, haven't you? You've met Cody, my grandson.
Oh, yes, I have.
I showed him, you know, the old-fashioned telephones.
Right, yes.
I showed him one of them the other day.
What's that? Well, now you've heard it from the oldies. And don't think that our point of view isn't as valid as the 10-year-olds that we start to listen to. God, there are those people that would give 10-year-olds the vote. Yeah, and just shows how stupid our society has become when it comes to electronics. And I laugh like hell. You get onto the bus, and now to speed things up, you can pay your bus fare with your phone. These kids get on, they start to pay the bus fare, and then suddenly there's a great big conversation between the bus driver and the customer, the passenger. Why? Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work the way it's supposed to. I'm sure that sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. So you get a great big queue and the bus is late. Oh, thank you. That is modern technology taking us forward. Right, I've had my rant. I have had my rant. There you can see outside. You can see outside this. It looks as if the road is wet. It's raining, and it's not. It's supposed to be 0 all day today. 0 rain, it says, and here it is. It's raining. nothing is going according to Hoyle. And I prayed hard when I went to church on Sunday. It was obviously his day off. And it was the first time I'd been in about 6 weeks, because I find it difficult to walk down the aisle to get to my seat. So there's a tendency to say, I won't do that. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Never mind. Let's get on with, first of all, let's just take a look outside for a moment, shall we? Well, there I am, still there, and actually, I had such problems getting dressed this morning. I plopped my bum down on the bed, and then to find I'd left my spectacles there. So this is a new pair of spectacles which I had 2 days ago, and I managed to bugger them up already. That's what Parkinson's does for you, and when it's not treated. Oh, Jason, there you go, one-eyed Jack. Oh dear. Let's go to the papers. Right, the papers. Right. The headlines, the front pages. He said, the Eye revealed Labour's plan to nationalise UK railways. Many of the papers feature Labour's plan to nationalise the railways if it wins power. The Eye newspaper says the party promises to immediately start the process of bringing the rail system back into public ownership. Plans include a best price ticket guarantee and digital season tickets, the Eye reports, but the paper says passengers may have to wait years before an end to rip-off ticketing. Well, the train companies have sort of brought it on themselves. The Mirror, Labour will nationalise rail in 5 years. The Daily Mirror says Labour's election promise to nationalise rail in 5 years is the biggest overhaul of the train industry in a generation. It carries a quote from Shadow's Transport Secretary Louise Haigh, who says, "We'll deliver root and branch reforms." Yeah, we've seen that before. The Guardian, Labour pledges to nationalise rail network within 5 years. The Guardian leads on Labour's rail nationalisation promise, saying the planned reforms around would be one of the party's first major acts if it wins power. The paper says Labour insiders hailed the plan as the moment the party would begin to champion its more radical proposals in the run-up to the general election, likely to be held later this year. The Mail, schoolgirl stabs teacher in the neck. The Daily Mail leads on the arrest of a teenage girl on suspicion of attempted murder after 3 people were injured in a school stabbing in Carmarthenshire. The paper also features a photo of military horses running loose through central after being spooked by noise. Goodbye, Ada. After being spooked by noise from a building site. Daily Express, horror in the playground as teachers stabbed. Horror in the playground is how the Daily Express describes the incident at the Welsh school. The paper also carries the striking image of horses on the rampage through central London. The Telegraph, Starmer refuses to match PM's defence budget. All right, there we go. We knew that was going to happen. The Daily Telegraph headlines on Labour that its story is on leader Keir Starmer refusing to match the Prime Minister's defence budget. The paper says shadow ministers declined to promise that 2.5% of GDP would be spent on defence by 2030, as Rishi Sunak pledged on Tuesday. Labour's position is that it would raise defence spending to the 2.5% figure when resources allow. The paper reports without putting a specific timescale on it. Right. Okay. Right, the Times. England worst in the world for underage drinking. The Times leads on a study suggesting England is the worst in the world for underage drinking. A third of 11-year-olds and half of 13-year-olds in England have drunk alcohol, which is the highest rate of childhood drinking out of 44 countries, which were looked at by the World Health Organization, the WHO. Well, they're a bit suspect. The paper reports, it says that children from wealthy homes are the most likely to drink, mirroring their parents. Ooh. The Financial Times, Brussels spearheads dawn raid on Chinese security equipment supplier. The FT reports that the EU has instigated a dawn raid on the offices of a Chinese security equipment supplier. Anti-foreign subsidy powers were deployed in the action at offices in Warsaw and Rotterdam. The FT says products made by the company in question, Nuktak, have been banned by some Western countries on national security grounds. The Sun, Beatrice X in drug death. Oh, first love found in Miami hotel. The Sun reports on the death of a former boyfriend of Princess Beatrice in a suspected drug overdose. Paolo Liuzzo was found dead in a Miami hotel room, the tabloid says. And the Star, which normally gives us a bit of a laugh. Greasy fry-ups will turn us into zombies. Oh ho ho! Bad news for people who like greasy fry-ups. They are turning us into zombies, the Daily Star says, carrying a warning from another cheery food boffin. More specifically, the tabloid says highly processed food is creating a nation of insomniacs. But on the plus side, such fare tastes really, really good. The choice is a no-brainer. Right. Let's have a look at the weather now. Well, we would have a look at the weather if we could get it up. Let's have a look. Oh, here we are. Oh, 12 degrees today, but rain. Light rain and a gentle breeze. Oh, dear. The forecast is changing a bit because tomorrow it's rain and 11 degrees. And Saturday, 13 degrees, a bit warmer, but still rain. And Sunday, 13 degrees and still rain. So we're in for a bit of rain over the next few days. And that's it. Okay, now let us see if we can what's the time? 23 minutes past. We were expecting us 20 past. Oh dear. Let's see if we can find Jane's. The computer is playing up a bit this morning. It's not clicking into what it should click into. Oh, right, got it at long last. Now let's. There we go. Do our very best. Oh, Mr. Keith has gone. Oh, right. uh, what the heck? It's better than fooling around. That's what I am doing. I'm fooling around. I'm actually so relieved to be bouncing after my start to the day that. No, we haven't. we haven't managed to crack it. We'll have to wait until we are talking about Steve and Catherine, which we're going to do. As let's. All right, here I am, and you can see that I am in the pub, and that we are ready to do exciting things. Oh dear, dear, dear. I love it on mornings where we fart around like this because it strengthens my position that, not all of us are computer literate in the sense that we can understand everything that a computer can do. And yet, industry, banks, medicine, government, all make a basic assumption. And then when you don't follow their, let me take my one-eyed jack off. When you don't follow their explicit instructions, they get really crappy with you, really upset, and that's got to stop. You are nasty, nasty people, and yet, if I meet you in social circumstances, you're charming and delightful and so on. It's only the computer that turns you into a nasty person. And it does. It turns you into a nasty person. You get officious. You get nasty. You get irritable. You get frustrated. Why do we deliberately stick our necks out to become a society like that? Ha! Ha! Yeah. You see, look what it's turned me into. An old curmudgeon. No, it hasn't. I've been a curmudgeon for about 20 years. And when all it needs is a little bit of frustration to unleash me. Now, I'm going to be serious a minute because one of the finest men to come down the pike that's been involved with local politics and was not appreciated in his lifetime as much as he should be is Stephen Catlin. And Stephen Catlin was not only a man of considerable wisdom, but he understood, whereas almost nobody actually understands the system that they're in. They certainly don't understand the town council. There's some doubt that anybody understands the district council except for power grabbing and the faceless people at the county council just get away with murder because we don't know who the hell they are. Now, Stephen understood the system, was very sage, and actually had the courage and conviction to actually raise his head above the parapet. But none of the local council will do that anymore. Getting them on to this station is like pulling hen's teeth. James McCleary is about the only one. And I understand that Matthew Bird is coming on next week with Stuart. But almost none of them will raise their head above the parapet. Why? Because they're afraid of their peers laughing at them, sneering at them, disapproving of them. Well, Stephen was willing to bear all that for the sake of decent and good local government, which we do not have. I'm sorry, councillors, we do not have it. You're a bunch of shower. But let's be reminded of this extraordinary man And he did a program called Catherine's Corner. And here is a look back to issues that he undertook to represent you, the citizen, you, the person looking at the local council. Here he is, Stephen Catherine with Catherine's Corner. Pay attention, please.
At the Western Road in Lewes, the county town of East Sussex. Although I must say, if you look around, there's nothing much to convince you of its status. Take these public toilets. You will see the notice here. Please be aware that these toilets are locked due to the dangerous state of the building. You do wonder why the owner has neglected it so much. And I will tell you that the owner is Lewes District Council, so perhaps you will understand the anger and frustration that they can't even be bothered to look after their assets. But we come along to another facility, which is at this end, which until a year ago was working. Do admire the hanging gardens of Babylon on the way. They can't even cut that back properly. But here, the disabled facility, which was much in demand by the church opposite when it opened. And this bit, the only part of the facility that didn't work, but did work, has been closed for over a year because how apt they are in their words. Currently, there is no electricity. You admire someone has a subtle sense of humour there, if nothing else. But why haven't they mended that? A year since it was closed. And this facility isn't open again because of the dangerous state of the building. And if we just come to the end of this forecourt, you will see how big the site is. We come forward to here, earning no revenue for the district council at all. And it goes back some way, as you will see. Well, just see the end of the undergrowth, and you get an idea of how big this site is. So the scheme I came up with some 3 years ago, which the Deputy Chief Executive thought was rather good, would be to demolish this toilet block and rebuild it on a footprint a third the size, which is all we need. Building it up to this boundary with the pavement, and that would give enough room above, beside and at the back for one-bedroom council housing. The district council own the site. Buying the land would cost them no money, and of course it would bring money into the housing revenue. But the deplorable thing is that for over a year they haven't even been bothered to repair the electricity for the one bit of the facility that was open. And I think that is a neglect of public assets and probably not very good management of the buildings on their part. You may draw your own conclusions, of course. Don't be swayed by me. And here is further evidence that the county town perhaps doesn't hold its head that high. All these drink cans and bottles scattered around land which belongs to the county council. Now there is a local order in this town banning drinking of alcohol in public. You may look around and wonder where the public is, but this drinking goes on late at night and nothing is done about stopping that. But the point of today's lecture is this wonderful array of dead trees and living bindweed. The county council took this back. I used to look after it along with the planting here. And the county council said, it is untidy, we're going to take it all back. Their taking it back meant that they didn't water any of these beds for over a year. So what was in there was died, more or less. And they did, however, plant 4 new trees. But they never watered them since they put them in. So throughout this long, hot summer, it's withered and died. And I wonder what sort of advertisement this and the bottles and everything else and the litter around, what sort of impression does that give of East Sussex County Council, whose offices are just behind me? Now, I have written to the County Council and said, look, for the cost of 200 quid to get some new plants, since everything else seems to have withered and died, I will continue to look after it at no cost to you at all, because I, unlike you, are proud of this town. They haven't replied to the email, and as far as I know, they haven't responded to the pithy paragraphs which were in the Sussex Express last week. Can I ask that the two councils, both strategic authorities, the district and the county, show that they have some pride in the town, the council tax of which enables them to exist? And there will be another bit about council tax as the year progresses. We'll talk about that next time. But I hope you will agree with me that even me doing it for nothing would give a rather better result than the careful and studied conservation of dead trees, which is what the county seems only to be able to manage.
Now, those people, because, you know, we forget, don't we, so quickly people of worth. About 50 years' time, somebody will say, why don't we make a statue to this man? Because he was exceptional. Not everybody loved him, but then not everybody loves everybody. You don't expect that. But what this man did was he brought a breath of fresh air, a breath of honesty, and a breath of decency to local politics. You saw him on site there talking about a spot which is no more than a spit from where we are sitting right at this very moment in time. And he eventually, after the council saying that they would charge him 100 quid or so to let him tidy this up, relented and realized that how stupid it made them look. Mind you, they don't need much help with that. Stephen Catlin, when he died, there was a flood of what shall we say? Like and respect, and what they were going to do for this man. Now, one of the things that Stephen did, even when he was mayor, he did, is he actually went around the flower beds in this town and, with one or two helpers, made sure that our town looked the part, that the flower beds were fresh, tended, looked good, looked great. He didn't ask for any compensation or any extra for his work. He got out the trowel and he did it. And could you ask for finer leadership than that? You don't see that anymore. Huh. I'm not sure that you ever saw it, except for Stephen. But one of his prides and joy, and we did a program on it, and I haven't had time to dig it out, but I will, was to do with the secret garden. Stephen Catlin's secret garden. And on what was once Pinwell Lane that have become common ground, and with a beautiful, beautiful ancient gate from the old Greyfriars Priory, a very small but very significant and very beautiful secret garden was created and tended by Stephen. And people came from all over the place just to see it. It was only very small. But they came to take a look at Stephen's secret garden. Pinwell Lane, by the way, is between the Quaker house and the All Saints Centre, which is a church converted, desanctified and converted into a very popular civic centre, a social centre, used for a whole host of things. When Stephen died, so did the secret garden. This television station made an offer to keep it going. We have not received a reply. Not received one nod of approval. And I said to our gardener that we've had sitting in the wings, named Toby, and Toby, I am going to go down to the council. Do you understand that I can't walk anymore? I can barely stand. Well, I can't stand or walk, really. Not for very long, anyway. But I do have the Red Devil, a mobility scooter that I terrorize. The two Bs claim that I terrorize the entire town with it, and only just to get recognition of my blue hat. Well, I have threatened to go down and walk in and say, listen, we're going to keep at you until you make some decision, because at the time of Stephen's death, oh, gosh, yes, oh, well, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do the other. And anybody? No, very typical, very typical. It looks as if we will get some notice if we say we'll do this right now. So we'll say it, but we don't intend to do it. Goodness gracious me, no. Goodness gracious me, no. Oh, the coffee's getting cold. So there we are. We are on the edge of getting that garden looking nice again. It's going to take a little time because it's just frayed at the edges. Nobody gives a damn, you see. They're only interested in their politics. What we're going to do. Hey, Green, hey, look what we've done. You read some of the stuff that they stuff through your letterbox, and you would think that we were in Shangri-La instead of the mess that we're in. It's disgraceful. And these same people, led by Zoe Nicholson, will all get up and tell you the marvellous things that they're going to do the next time round, when they've signally failed to do anything this time around. They fabricate stuff. They pluck it out of the air. It's time that we got what we paid for. The highest, second highest, third highest council tax in the country. And without any accounts to show how it's spent. Without any accounts to show what it's spent. Not even draft accounts. It's absolutely disgraceful. And who gives a damn? Nobody. Nobody, until until we've gone so far that there's no coming back. And then all sorts of people will rise from the ashes. I told them, no, they didn't. We went on in our own little way without any criticism of our local leaders because we didn't care. We didn't want to be bothered. Well, be bothered. We can all get terribly het up about potholes. We can all get het up about dogs on the loose. But do we get het up about the fact that we've got a completely useless council? Councils? No. We just lead them to it. The one thing that they do rather well is fill out their expense sheets. You think the councillors do it for free? Ha! Those days are long gone. Long gone. It's a career now. Let me get my expenses. It's the only time that they ever turn up at the council offices. Well, we haven't got any council offices now. They've given them away. We're now in Eastbourne. Oh, forgive me. We've got a shop front down in the precinct. Stuart regularly goes in and gets nowhere. It's a sinecure. It's look. Don't say that we are not facing up to you, the public. Well, we're not. It's a ridiculous, silly notion. We have no council. We have no leadership. And actually, I know some of the people who are councillors. And actually, it's the old story. They are totally and thoroughly nice people who ain't doing the job. So when I actually publicly yell at them and scream at them like this, I'm yelling and screaming at people that I rather like. If you're not doing the job, you're not doing the job. And somebody has got to tell you that you're not, because you don't seem to realize yourself. It's disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. And the one man who had a conscience, the one man who understood what his role was and was fearless in saying his piece, is gone. And I would like to think forgotten. But it has been forgotten. His secret garden, which was his legacy, is lying rotting. Weeds are overtaking the shrubs. It's a sad, sad day. And nobody cares. And that's really what's wrong with our society. Nobody cares. Oh, we care about all sorts of things, about systems, computers, dotting the I's, crossing the T's. But nobody cares about the heart and the soul, about the concern, about worrying if our constituents are all right, worrying if the town is prospering, or withering on the vine. Nobody cares about that. Nobody. And it's very sad. And the one man who did care, and demonstrably cared, has gone. And sadly is forgotten. I can feel sorry for myself, as indeed, very, very briefly, I did this morning. I got up, I staggered to the bathroom. I staggered back to my bed and sat down to put on some fresh clothes. It was pretty tough getting the buttons right, because one of the things about Parkinson's is you can't do up buttons terribly well. As for shoelaces, wow. But this morning I couldn't even get my legs in position to get my socks on. I thought I was going to have to come sockless. And then to get up is you have to go bounce on the bed until you get enough momentum to push you into the the air. Now I'm happy to say a return to Mirador. Here she is good morning, Jane.
Hello. I wonder what's happening with my phone. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I'm just losing my voice.
No, your voice is fine. I like croaky voices. Jane is our correspondent in Hastings. She is a thespian. She is just fresh from a triumph, and we showed you a clip of her. It was the what was the play again? It was a Chekhov, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Anton the Cherry Orchard.
The Cherry Orchard. That's right. Yeah, and the people watching it with me said that's not an amateur production. And I said, well, I think it's a bit of a hybrid. I think there are one or two professionals there. But they were very, very impressed with the standard of acting, Jane. So well done you.
Yeah, I think it turned out to be we had a full house Saturday night, the last night. I mean, it started off quite slow with audience numbers, but, word of mouth. Some people came twice. It had a totally stripped back set. So there was no actual set. It was just chairs. They used the chairs as props, but they were in traditional costume. And I think with the lighting and the photography and everything, it looked amazing, actually, in the end. It worked out really well.
Yes. Well, I'm sure that you're in touch with this group of people. Do pass on, tell them that that the brief that we saw we played it 2 or 3 times, and we were very, very impressed with the production, and well done.
Yeah, thank you. I will. Yeah, as you say, 2 or 3 of them are professional actors, but the rest, I mean, the Stables Theatre, it's a club, so it is essentially amateurs. But now we're getting a lot more external theatre companies coming in, so we're getting more of a mix of professionals and amateurs, but essentially it's still an amateur theatre. So
right now, as Hastings, strangely enough, is a thespian's dream, because you do all sorts of exciting things, including getting thousands of pirates in Hastings during the summer. So what's on the cards for Hastings this summer?
Well, there's lots going on in May, June, I'm involved in an opera with Barefoot Opera La Traviata, which we're going to perform in a local church in June, and that's then going on tour with Barefoot Opera. Of course, May bank holiday, we've got the big May Day Jack in the Green. That's coming up before Pirate Day. So on May bank holiday, which I think this year is the 6th of May, Monday the 6th. So we have about 20,000 motorbikes that come along the seafront and just come for a day out, drive their bikes from all over the country. And then we've got the Jack in the Green parade, which people dress up as trees, basically, paint their faces green, and it's a pagan kind of celebration, bringing in the summer, and they're up on the hill at dawn, and the sun comes up, and then they parade around the old town, and then they end up back on the East Hill, and there's music and Morris dancing and that kind of goings on.
Right. I mean, it's pretty lively stuff.
Yeah, it does attract thousands of people as well to the day. It's a good fun day, and then there is the Pirate Day, which will be in July, around about the 17th. So again, Hastings becomes theatre town, and everybody dresses up as pirates. And then they have another procession, but pirates, around the old town as well. So that's a good fun day.
Right. Now, I'm interested that you say that you're involved in opera because, as you probably know, it's been on hold for about 4 weeks, partly because of our own deficiencies in terms of the technology. But we are very Suzanne Mouchot is involved, and therefore we're involved with an opera company in New York. And I think that it is, since you would know far better than I what we're talking about, is I think that we should actually get you together with them and do a rather lengthier interview than I could do. And it really is, it's a first class opera company, and it is mentioned in the definitive magazine for opera in the United States. And I think you'll rather like the director of it, because he is quite a live wire, is a Greek by ethnic origin, I think, but a terrific guy, and they do innovative stuff. I mean, the one that I remember particularly is they had the lead singers in glass boxes hanging over the stage in one production.
Really? Wow. Sounds amazing.
And it's I mean, it's always sold out when they do a production, but they also train or give training to youngsters, and they do that in various parts of the world. I mean, they've been to Argentina and back to Greece for him. So I think you'll find him a fascinating man to talk to. And Suzanne is of course like you, a complete live wire. It's a fascinating match, I think. So do be warned, you'll be meeting up with them very, very, very soon.
That'd be great. Yeah. Well, our performance of La Traviata is going to be on the 21st of June at 7:30 in St. John's Church in St. Leonard's at 7:30. And then after that, it's going on tour, sort of Hertfordshire, around London. So hopefully it'll be good. I'm probably ready to be singing one word. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't started rehearsals yet.
One word is enough, isn't it?
Yeah, I sang one word in La Cenerentola, Cinderella. I sang one word. a few times. Arrivederci, arrivederci.
I'm fascinated by the fact that you're taking it on tour. Now, where are you taking it on tour to?
Yeah, it's going to Hertfordshire and around London. I'm not actually going on the tour. I'm just doing the show in St Leonard's.
Right.
Because then they've got other people. I mean, the idea is to get other people from different towns involved. So, yeah, it's going to Hertfordshire.
It is a Hastings troupe, is it?
Well, Jenny Miller, I think we interviewed Jenny Miller. Do you remember quite some time ago when we did the Big Barefoot, the Bloom Britannia, the big town opera in Hastings? We interviewed her on Mirador. So she's the sort of instigator. She's got some funding now, so to go to other towns and get other people involved, which is great. Really, it's making opera. I'd say not more accessible, but I think people, their idea of opera is, I don't like to say like highbrow, but it's, certain types of people go to the opera, but now it's making it more accessible and trying to get young people involved and not modernize it.
Popularity, I think, there is more of an appreciation of what opera can be. And,
yeah, exactly.
Yes,
making it more accessible, I think, because I think, when I talk to people who are singing opera, they sort of, it's quite formal. I think the formality of it. So maybe they're trying to just break down the barriers of it a little bit and get more people involved in it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that what you're doing in Hastings is it isn't as well sung as it should be, and the more we can do that on Mirador, the better. One of the interesting things that you might know or not know is in way back in 1966, when you were just a gleam in your father's eye, is I had a Canada Council fellowship, which I held in the professional theatre, not as an actor, but as an administrator and all the things that are associated with it. And I was the tour manager for Romeo and Juliet up and down the various towns of British Columbia. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is not only that you're going on tour, or at least you've got an opera going on tour, but it opened my eyes to local television. Because we went into a town in northern British Columbia called Prince George, and we were asked to go on the local television. And along with the leading lady and one other cast member, I turned up, and the chap opened the door to us and sort of said, here's the green room. Would you mind waiting for a few minutes? Which we did, and then we were taken through to the studio, and we sat down, and this chap sort of fiddled with the camera. And then he came and he did the interview. And then he got up and he unlocked the camera and so on. And we suddenly realized he was the only bloke in the entire TV station. And he was doing absolutely everything and was doing this marvelous job. And it stuck in my mind. And I've always been a great fan of local television, which we don't appreciate in this country at all. It was quite remarkable, but it was is being tour manager of Romeo and Juliet that started my love with local television. So there.
Wow, that's the yeah,
now, what else has been grabbing your attention recently?
I think the horses. Did you see the escaped horses last night on the news through London?
I saw them in the paper this morning. They are actually. It's the pub gets the Times, and indeed there they are.
Oh yes, on the
In
I did think. I did wonder. I thought years ago when I worked at a private international school in Rye, they have horses, and one day a similar thing happened where the girl had brought the horse into the school, and the fire drill had gone off, and we were all on the playing fields because the fire drill. We all had to evacuate the building, and then the next thing, this horse is running down the path, and I just stood out and put my hands up and stopped it. And actually, recently, somebody said, "Oh, you stopped that runaway horse at school." And I thought, I wonder if I would have stepped out. I would have stepped out into the Strand and put my arms up to try and stop those horses. I don't know. I mean, they ran quite a long way, didn't they? They went.
Yes,
Did they come down the mile along the Strand? Well, two of them did. I think they managed to catch the one further. But it was, this one person said it was like being on a film set. You know, suddenly these runaway horses. I mean, it's quite scary. You know, quite terrifying. I mean, they must.
Yes,
They
are. Although in Northern Ireland, I had friends who had horses, and I was on their sort of small holding one day, and the horses escaped, and the chap actually roared out in front of them, waving his arms like fury, and they did actually stop and turn around.
Yeah, they did stop. Yeah.
See, if you do this sort of thing, horses really are quite timid of
yeah, they will stop. Yeah, that's why I was surprised nobody. But maybe it was happening so fast. You know, in London's so busy that nobody seemed to throw themselves out to try and stop them. But they must have eventually, or they ran out of steam along the Strand. They got them down the Strand.
Well, I mean, to be quite honest with you, having told you that story, is if I'd have been on the Strand and I'd seen two horses coming tearing towards me, I would have dived into a shop window or a shop.
Yeah, they crashed into a van, didn't they? Smashed the van and a bus. But the similar thing happened last year in summer school. I for my birthday, it was at Ardingly College, and I got the steam train. I thought I'll go on the steam train for the day for my birthday, which goes to East Grinstead. And halfway along the track was a horse running along the side of the track, and then a woman running behind trying to catch it, because obviously it escaped. Maybe the train had spooked it, you know, with the blowing the horn. And it was running along the track, and I thought, "Oh my days! Did I really just see that? Did that really just happen?" It's quite scary. I mean, if it hit the train had hit it, would have been a bit of a mess. But this poor woman running along trying to catch it. But they do get spooked quite easily. Horses, they are flight animals, aren't they? And they
are. But let's return to the steam train. Did you find it terribly satisfying going on a steam train?
It's kind of sweet, and actually the only thing was, you know, the smoke. At one point, I thought I'll put my head out the lovely slamming doors, the clunking doors, and the windows that slide down, and I thought I'll put my head out the window to take a photo, because just at the point it went through a tunnel, and then I got a face full of smoke that kind of. But yeah, it was kind of like it's great that these little trains still run around Britain here and there, don't they? There's quite a few of them.
They do, yeah. There are some that are quite magnificent. Actually, the Bluebell, which you would have been on, it is a magnificent. I mean, it's called the Bluebell because it runs through Bluebell Woods. But when I first came back from Northern Ireland, of course, exploring this part of the world, I discovered that you could go at Christmas on the Bluebell Railway, and they would put on the Pullman coaches, and they would do a Christmas dinner with the silver service and the whole thing. And in those days, you couldn't go through to East Grinstead. You stopped. I forget where you stopped. But you went two times up and down the line. But on the way back, you stopped at Horsted Canes or Horsted Keens, however you
Yeah,
pronounce
that's right. Horsted Keynes. Yeah, that's right.
it. And you got off, and the local church choir came down onto the platform, and you sang carols and drank punch.
Oh,
It was
nice.
a marvelous experience. It
Yeah.
really was.
Well, they did
Nowadays,
say-
it's priced out of my price range. I mean, I think it costs about 50 quid to do it. In those days, it cost about £5.10.
yeah. Well, I think the day I think the return ticket was about 12.50, but they do events there, and I've been on the Watercress line, the one in Alton as well and had a meal. You know, it's quite. I think in Horsted Keynes they said they're trying to extend the line there slightly. There's still track, and they were trying to buy it, I think, or something. So trying to make it a little bit longer. So it's all lovely and immaculate, and I love all the memorabilia and all the train, the stuff on the platform and all the old
Yes,
suitcases.
yes, and the coffin carrier. They got a coffin carrier that they used to put the coffins on to move bodies.
Oh yes, a lot.
Yes. Actually, I do bluebell spotting because a lot of the television shows that involve old trains use the Bluebell Railway, and 9 times out of 10, it's at Horsted Canes.
Mm,
And I'm able to look at it and say, there, that's the Bluebell. When
mm,
it's either Hercule Poirot or whoever
yeah,
getting on board. Yeah.
yeah. Sometimes they use the one at I worked on Mappa Lucia years ago, and they used the one at Tenterden. Can't remember the name of it though. The train there, they used it. They filmed as the woman was getting off the train, so we were all passengers in 1920s dresses. It was all very funny. It was very
Yes.
good fun.
I hope they paid you for that.
They did. I think they did. I can't
Yes.
remember. They probably did.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm,
The trade unions in filming are quite strong, and
mm,
they insist that anybody who's I think the only reason you can actually appear as an extra in these things is if you're playing yourself. So, for
mm,
instance, if you are a gardener and you play a gardener, you can appear without being either in a union or
mm,
without being paid or whatever.
mm,
I mean, I understand why nobody makes movies in Hollywood anymore because they insist upon being paid huge amounts just to be an extra. So
mm,
they go up to Canada, they go up to Vancouver to actually make the movie.
mm. Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, they do pay. They do pay. Well, supporting artists now they call them SAs for in film TV. They do get paid a daily rate, and sometimes they get paid travel expenses or extras. If you have to have your hair cut or something like that, they pay for that. So it is fairly regulated, isn't it, by the FAA, the Film Artists
Yes, it
Union?
is.
Mm,
Uh, Actually, one of my famous stories is, and it's quite a true one, is as an extra, because I needed to belong to ACTRA, the Association of Canadian Television and Radio Artists, simply
mm,
to read the news. That's how far the union spread. But it meant you could also be hired as um, an extra in movies, and
mm.
they made a movie called Carnal Knowledge in Vancouver, and I was an extra in that. it was the
Oh, no.
first. It was the first sort of slightly naughty movie with Anne Margaret ever to be made, and um, I was in Maine in the United States on one occasion, and I happened to mention this, and somebody the next day came up and said, "Oh, I've got a copy of carnal knowledge. Let's all watch it. And I ended up on the cutting room floor, much to my embarrassment.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? With a background, you spend all day being filmed, and then they cut most of it out.
That's right. Yes. Still, the check isn't shaved. You still get paid the same amount.
Well, I did it. I think in the old cinema in Hastings, the Electric Palace. I did an evening as an extra, sitting in the audience with this boy who'd made this film, and then in the Cherry Orchard, one of the actresses said to me, "Oh, I made this film, and you were in the film, and you're featured quite a lot," because I was sitting next to the actor in the audience. She said, "Oh, when we have the viewing in Hastings, I'll let you know. You have to come and see it." I said, my claim to fame.
Yes, actually, John Henty, who comes on at 10 o'clock in half an hour's time, he was not an extra, but a member of the audience whom they interviewed when they did a BBC Two program about a month ago of the anniversary of ABBA, who won the Eurovision Song Contest in Brighton, and started really their proper career to fame and fortune. And John was invited back sort of 50 years or 60 years later, and they interviewed him. And I must say that he's now a reasonable age, and he did a marvelous job in recalling what it was like to be in the audience on that occasion. So we crop up all over the place, and you must let us know when you're an extra in some movies or television programs, so we can watch you.
Well, I was on the mini ad. There's a mini ad for the electric Mini, and they wanted people who I've got a Mini. Well, at the moment I've got a Mini, but the gearbox has gone on it. But they wanted people to drive Mini cars for the ad, but I'm just not in it at all, and I think I worked on it for 3 days, walking up down or driving, having my Mini parked in the road, and it's all been cut out. But never mind, it was an experience.
Yeah. You always want to say to them, "Will you give me the rushes?" Just so that I've got them. But you never. It's all so elongated. You can actually appear on January the 1st and not be shown until December the 31st.
That's right.
It's always a long time between, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
right
the Mini
now,
ad, I didn't think I'd see it because I thought it was going to be on Netflix, which I don't subscribe to. But it was on actually, I don't know which channel it was on. Well, whichever one that has adverts. So 3, 4, or 5, I can't remember. But I thought, it is on TV. I did see it, but as I say, lots of it was cut out. But anyway, hey ho.
Hey ho. Now, as we're reintroducing you, because it's been some time since you've been on, you actually teach at Gordonston, don't you?
I have been, yes. I didn't go last year. I have been to Gordonston 3 or 4 times, and also went up there when COVID, when kids were isolating as well. But last year I went to Ardingly College near Haywards Heath to work for a football academy, who had kids who were playing football 6 hours a day, or some of them had 3 hours English and 3 hours football. But they had lots of football. They were completely football mad. They had coaches there, 2 from Arsenal and 1 from Chelsea, and they had about 50 boys and about 10 girls over the summer. So completely mad about football. And some of the girls were pretty good, actually, I have to say. Quite feisty and better than some of the boys, in fact. now
Well,
that the women's football's taking off.
you know that there's a big argument, particularly from the macho men, is oh well, you know, people will never take to ladies football. But I actually watched and will watch the final game of England
Mm,
against France of the
mm,
Ladies World Cup rugby, and I found it fascinating.
mm.
As I got hooked. So
Yeah.
now I most certainly won't miss the men's tournament, but I
Mm.
also am hooked on the ladies tournament. And you're quite right; some of them are quite feisty.
Well,
And yeah,
the women's England football team are really good, aren't they? And I think they're good
yes, they are.
advocates for, changing certain things in sports as well for women. So, it's a good thing. They sort of, and they're playing cricket, like you say, rugby. Um, get it. And why
Yes,
shouldn't they? But I mean, it's still some ways probably to us because historically we've only seen men play these certain sports. Sometimes I think, oh, it's a bit strange, but then I think, well, why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they do it?
yes,
Um,
and indeed they're as entertaining as the men in many
mm,
ways. I mean, the England rugby team is they sprinted away to score a couple of tries,
mm,
to see them uh, emulating, if you like, what the men do, and
mm.
probably do it in some instances better than they do, is
Yeah,
absolutely
it
superb.
can be quite tactical. I mean, last year I had a little girl from Paris. She was like a rocket. She was weaving between the guys, playing with the boys, like weaving and so fast. It's incredible. Go, Sasha, go, go, go.
Well,
Yeah.
what do you do at this school, Jay?
Well, last year I was boarding house mistress for the girls boarding house, because I didn't actually want to teach last year. I just thought I'd do something different. So I quite enjoyed it, actually, being a house parent, sort of the
Right.
girls.
Yeah.
And you can say
How many do you have?
about 10, maximum 10. But I think it's great to see kids that are motivated with anything these days. So all they talked about was football. I was thinking, oh, that wasn't my childhood. Probably much more a sort of crafter type of thing. But I'm all for it. I just think if you can motivate kids these days to do whatever their interest is, I think it's great. Mm.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, the opportunities are now there, aren't they?
They
And
certainly are.
yeah,
And
I
there
mean,
were two sisters from South America, and the father had been a football player, and he brought them over, but he had a car accident and he damaged his back, so he had to stop playing football. But it was obviously, pushing his girls into the sport, and that the older girl, who was about 14, was really quite good. Yeah, it was
yeah.
great. Mm.
Yeah, so next time I watch Arsenal, I can say this is obviously one of Jane's girls.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. They might, whether they
Yes,
carry on, they might carry on. Hopefully, they will. Yeah.
yeah. Now, yeah, you're a lady of many parts. So we've talked about your thespian activities, but
Mhm.
and now a little bit about your teaching activities, which are all unusual, I may say.
Mm.
You are quite a lady. Is what else is on the stocks for you this next couple of months or so?
Don't know. I'm trying to slow myself down at the moment, but what am I doing? I don't know. I have applied for a job in Mallorca, cooking for 3 weeks, but I
Oh,
haven't heard from that. I haven't. I had an interview for summer school, but I've actually applied for a job as a sort of a transfer rep at the airport this year for like weekend, doing when the kids arrive, meeting them, meet and greet. But I haven't heard from that. So at the moment, I'm just at home and having worked on the Bake Off for 3 months, and then I went to Italy as a travel rep for schools for two schools on their ski trips to the Dolomites. So I've only been home a week or so. So I'm trying to have a bit of a rest. The old age is catching up with me. I keep thinking in my head, I'm going, oh yes, I can go do this, I can go do that. But actually, at the moment, I'm just having a bit of a break for a couple of weeks.
Well,
trying to catch up with the house and the garden and stuff that just doesn't get done.
I know exactly how you feel. I always say, because I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get into here and go on the air at 8 o'clock, and I say what I'll do is I will catch up with some administration when I get home at about 1:30. And I get home at 1:30 and I think, oh, I'll just put my head down for half an hour. And the next thing I know is I've been asleep for 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm no spring chicken anymore, I suppose, and that contributes. But the thing is, I would never ever quit it, because the sense of satisfaction that I'm still making a contribution is terrific, and you must feel
that. What's that? Something beeping.
Well, yes, something's beeping. Is it meant to wake you up?
No, it's mine, because I've got a call to do at 10 o'clock. It's probably messaging me to say,
reminding you.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's 9:30, and we were a bit late coming to you, but then that sometimes happens because there is a lot in the news today. Apart from the horses, we now find that Labour is going to renationalise the railways, that must you must have a view on that, because Hastings is very dependent upon the railway, isn't it?
Yeah, we have the two train lines. We've got Southern and Southeast. Southern going to Victoria, Ashford, Brighton, Lewis, and then we've got Southeast going up Charing to Tunbridge Wells, Charing Cross. And I wish, the thing is, they're always striking. Well, especially Southern, they always seem to be striking on work days for people, and hopefully that whatever they decide to do, that it will alleviate the problem of strikes and trains. I came back from Gatwick the other night, and I had to get the train because the gearbox has gone on my car, and I thought, well, I got to Hampden Park, where you cross over the train line to get the train to Hastings. So the train was cancelled, so I thought I had to go back over the train line into Eastbourne. Train was cancelled. I got home about midnight. I should have been home about maybe 9 o'clock.
Yes.
And then I thought, well, what am I going to do now? I'm going to have to there's no buses. I'll probably have to get a taxi if I can't get a train. And, it's just inconveniencing people all the time. So.
Yes. Is very badly managed. That's for sure. I think that the train lines have not been strict enough or tough enough with the unions, and if it is renationalised, they're only asked for what they get. Although you were talking about the up and down windows. I can remember the trains when they were nationalised, and everybody has got some vague idea that they all ran on time and so on and so forth, when they didn't. They were just as bad as if anything, there's an improvement in denationalised trail, until recently, when the unions have really started to feel their oats. But then again, they're going to get their comeuppance, aren't they? Because the government isn't the same negotiating agent as the private companies. The private companies have got to worry about things. The nationalised rail, they don't have to worry about a damn thing. If they don't go, they don't go, and nobody has to make any sort of apology for it. Unfortunately. But as you say, you've got 2 lines. Will you maintain 2 lines?
Well, I hope they will. I mean, part of the southern they want to close like Hastings to Orr. Yeah, I would think so. I mean, the thing is, it's slow. You know, that's why it's difficult to work in London from Hastings. You know, it's 2 hours. The southern is more than that. It's probably about 2 hours 10 minutes. You know, that's a long day for people. So, but yeah, hopefully they will keep going. We need it. You know, if they cut the trains down, it'd be just a disaster. Really, make Hastings more cut off. You know, so
I must say that I've several times now taken the line to Battle. I rather like Battle as a little place. I can't travel terribly well anymore, but at one time, if I really wanted to get away from things for a weekend, I would go and stay in that. There's a big monumental hotel. Is this very, very old-fashioned on the main street in Battle, and I used to go and stay there for a couple of nights in this cavernous hotel room. You could play cricket in. and just get away from things. And there are a number of, apart from the Abbey, there are a number of little places tucked away in Battle, rather pleasant. And then, of course, there's this fight with Hastings as to where the actual Battle of Hastings took place.
I mean, it's always said Battle, but they have also said Crowhurst. It's actually in Crowhurst because they found items in the ground. So yeah, sometimes it shifts. Anyway, I'm going to have to go, I'm afraid, because
no, that's okay. But we now we'll check with you each week to see if you are able to come on, because you're not only a thespian, but you're a storyteller. And this morning we've had a fascinating trip through all sorts of things, and actually, what we don't want to do is we don't want to ignore Hastings. Because it is a much more thriving community than we are led to believe, because of its remoteness, if you like.
There's loads going on, and I think again the wave of COVID and people moving here again, you know, and working because they can work from home. There's lots of people hidden away with their laptops doing their jobs. You know, properties have come up here; they look much nicer. There's loads. I mean, it is really a creative hub, really. Musicians, artists.
Yes, and they're showing Foyle's War again on television.
Oh, great. Yeah.
I like seeing Hastings as the backdrop to Foyle's War.
Yes, yeah, that's great. That's great.
Jane, have a nice rest of the day, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay, thank you. See you. Okay. Bye.
There we are. It's Jane Watkins, and a very, very feisty lady. Now, we're going to show you, I was waxing lyrical and really giving the local councils a bad time because I was extolling the virtues of Stephen Catlin. And we showed a Catlin's Corner to demonstrate what a remarkable man this man was. And I'm going to show you another one leading up to 10 o'clock when hopefully John Henty will be along to share his his bon vivant and wonderful wonderful sense of humour. So let's see Catherine's Corner episode 2, because this is an eye-opener.
Did you know that when we pay for council tax, the price includes special expenses? What are they? Stephen Catlin will explain. However, during the lockdown, there were certain jobs that were supposed to be done by the contractors employed by the council. When Stephen asked the council about the jobs that were not done and why they were not done, the response was because of an act of God. We were shown some correspondence between Stephen and the council. Slightly confusing. One paragraph says the work was not done because of an act of God, the pandemic. And the next paragraph says the job not only it was done, but the contractor also had special and extra expenses. Which one is it? You can't have it both ways. You will try though, won't you? Was it an act of God when you look into people's bank accounts if they don't pay their council tax? Because apparently, that's your right to do so. Some more information would be nice, council. And clearer information too. Just listen to what Stephen Catlin has to say now.
Here we are in Malling, part of Lewes. You've seen Malling Recreation Ground, where the council special expenses are being properly applied. Let me just explain briefly. Special expenses are levied by Lewes District Council on every council taxpayer in Lewes for the maintenance of open spaces. They have now got cracking, but it wasn't done in March, April, May or June, although we were still expected to pay in our council tax. What they haven't yet managed to do is this bit, by the river. So it's not quite as an attractive walk as it might be, although of course they may excuse their neglect by saying this is to maintain wildlife. But even so, the dead grass needs, excuse me, let me see who this is. I've got to take this. This bit had not been cut back. It does need to be done at some point to tidy up the dead grass. But we'll see. The whole point is that we pay every month in our council tax for this groundwork to be done. It was not done in March, April, May or June. And in one piece of land, a churchyard in the care of the district council, the town council actually had to pay to bring someone in to do it because it was in too bad a state. District are saying the contractor is catching up, but nevertheless we have paid for work that has not been done. I mean, even if the grass was 2 foot high, once it's cut, it's cut. It just hasn't been done when it should have been. And I pay on my council tax about £387 per annum. That is the second lowest. Band A will pay less, bands C, D and D will pay more. I don't see the difference between this work that has not been done, yet being charged for one, and a rogue roofer charging someone for not re-roofing their house. That becomes a criminal offence. So I really would like to know how District Council justify this, and it would be good to have a more public answer. next, if you can bear holding your breath until we get there, will be the matter of redundancies at Lewes District Council. That's whetted your appetite. See you soon.
Well, there we are. You see, Stephen not pulling his punches. God bless him, he was a bright spot in a very, very dull and, if I may say so, inefficient council. Actually, the council is scattered with examples of inefficiency. I've heard horrendous stories about the mercenary nature of LDC, particularly, but other councils as well. They've lost their sense of purpose. They've lost their sense of being statespeople. They've lost their sense of why they're there. I contracted Parkinson's about 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, and I've handled it with the only benefit that I've got is that because I'm over 65, I don't pay for my medicine, which is just as well, because it would be horrendous, the amount of pay that I would have to shell out. As it's a progressive disease, and I've slowly got worse, but I've managed to handle it myself without getting any sort of benefit. Just in the last little while, I have started to deteriorate rather badly. So I've said I can't stand for any length of time now, and I can't walk for any more than just a few yards. I totter. In fact, I said to a friend a little while ago, the thing that bothers me is that I now walk as a totterer, and it makes me look like an old man. To which they unkindly said, "You are an old man," and indeed I am an old man, and I have to put up with the amount of abuse I manifest. But quite seriously, is I am disabled. I can't walk. Now I fell. I fall quite regularly, but the last time I fell, it was on a Sunday morning, and I know that very well because I was preparing for church. In fact, it was Easter Sunday, and I fell and I couldn't get up. It is difficult once you're on the floor to actually get up. Now, fortunately, I've got one of these lifeline things, and I managed to get hold of the operator and explain what had happened to me. And they said, "Well, hang on, we'll try and get an ambulance to you." Well, they did eventually. Said it would be 2 hours. So I literally crawled along the floor from the bathroom where I'd fallen into the living room and up onto the settee. It took me about half an hour because it is not easy when your limbs aren't working properly and you found yourself on the floor and you can't get up. But I did actually get myself up onto the settee eventually. And that's where the ambulance crew found me. But they were a specialist ambulance crew. is a new emergency paramedic crew or something of the sort that they're called. And lo and behold, unlike most of the NHS, they were efficient. They came in, they made sure I was on my feet or able to get up on my feet. They took blood tests and so on. So right there in the apartment. And they then made an assessment of what might help me when I had these periodic fallings. And within 24 hours, there was somebody there to put up a rail on the wall and to put a little walking aid in place. All done within 24 hours. Incredible. Eventually, I was handed over to the local authority. The only thing that they've done for me is, well, I've had a visit from several physiotherapists, and it's not their fault that they work for who they do. But the administration is, we can't do this for you, we can't do that for you, we can't do the other for you until we've made a financial assessment and see whether you need to pay for any of this. Well, I can't have it until I can prove I can pay for it. And that proof of payment is still going on. And I'm not anywhere near well in that sense. Okay, I laugh like hell at Parkinson's because that's the only way that really laughter is the only way that you can get at Parkinson's. There's no cure. I take dopamine, which the bit of my brain which loses its sense of touch and feel has gone. I'm never going to get that back, so I have to have a substitute. But generally speaking, there is no cure, and I'm sort of considered for some sort of help, assistance. Now, I've got a little bit, 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day of somebody coming in to make sure that I haven't actually fallen over and killed myself. They actually do the washing up, of which there's not much because I'm not capable really of cooking properly without fear of spilling hot scalding water over me and so on and so forth. But they do actually say hello, and that's quite important. Because one of the things that people such as myself suffer from is depression because we're just talking to ourselves. And now I've got a fabulous cleaning lady who is also acting as carer. She has applied to get some added funds to what I pay her, so that she can give me some care on the days that normally she wouldn't come. Now, I do actually need somebody to check on me almost 7 days a week because if I do fall, I can't get up and I can't keep calling the ambulance. All that the conversation has been is how much it's going to cost me, what benefits I've got because of my age they're going to take away to pay for this cursory treatment and to switch to the lady. And John Henty is here. But anyway, the entire conversation has been about how much we're going to charge you for this this service. And that is very typical of people in positions of council authority. All right, I'm off to let John in, and we will be back at approximately 10 o'clock. Right you are.